Clicking it on. This is Hannibal here, fresh off another workout as I train for my upcoming movie that is going to be for everybody, not just wrestling fans, but it's going to be for the UFO fans as well, because it's a vampire type movie called Blood Hunter Thirst and Rage. But today I'm with none other than the bourbon connoisseur himself, just coming off a great interview a couple days ago that we aired yesterday here on the Hannibal TV that we're going to get into today. None other than Casey, the UFO Tarheel. How are you doing today?
Yeah, doing good. It's staying hot down here in Charlotte, so I don't know about your neck of the woods, but Jesus.
Oh, I think today was the hottest day here in Kansas that we've had so far, but
Wow.
I'll take that over snow any day, so you're not going to hear me complaining. But I was up it got so hot. I was up at 5 in the morning the last couple days just because, I don't know, the air conditioner's not the greatest, I guess. And when it gets that hot, you're up and ready to go. So,
Yeah, yeah. Well, and once you advance in age, Hannibal, you start wanting to wake up earlier, right? Make more of your day.
yeah, exactly. And when you can't sleep, I often listen to UFO audiobooks, and I've been listening to a Richard Dolan one lately that's kind of about the history of UAP contact
Yeah,
with the United States, and it's not a bad book. I've been enjoying it so
cool.
far.
Yeah. He's definitely got some good stuff. And I think some of the ones I'll get into next are probably some of the people we had on this week, right? Because the MUFON investigator that was on with us this week about the Iowa case, turns out he's an author of several books as well. So I think some of those will be pretty cool to check out.
Yeah, I'll have to check that out because that was an interesting video for sure. I watched it as it was airing, and I think I'm going to watch it again
Mm-hmm.
just to get more out of it because it was quite interesting. It's almost paranormal in a way. Oops, was that? Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
There's this book right there, Terror on the Iowa Highway.
Yeah, and we
Uh,
kind of talk about that because you normally don't hear UFOs talked about as terror or terrorizing, Now,
yeah.
you hear that with abductions, but you normally don't. Now, there's shock and awe and things like that, but yeah, some of these things in here. I was going to try to click through and see. I think I had a picture of David's book. Yeah, so here's one of them. This is probably one of the ones I'll dig into, but he's got some others. I'll have to look him up. Uh and he is the MUFON investigator out there. So this is one that, yeah, I'll probably dig into, but he's got some others. But yeah, man, I mean, some of these pictures, I mean, again, middle of the night, 2:25 a.m. Central Standard Time on March 28th. Now, I think they meant to say 2024. They put 2034. I just now noticed that. So that's why it was weird. It was in the future. But no, I think it's just a timestamp thing. But yeah, I mean, you can imagine how weird. I think this is the weirdest one that we shared
Yeah,
on
because they
that.
look like it looks more paranormal there. That yeah, but it looks like aliens, honestly.
It does, doesn't it? I mean,
Yeah,
and the colors, like, how do you? I mean, you just can't. And y'all know me, and even you, Hannibal. You've dealt with me enough now. I remain pretty skeptical. You got to really, most
yeah.
stuff I look it up and I'm able to show you how it's a plane or a helicopter, or I'm able to kind of fish around and find some reasoning, right? But this shit's too low to the ground. I mean, like, I just can't, I have no way of explaining things at 2 in the morning that look like this. So I don't have the photography background to know what the hell
And
that is.
what are those? Those
That
look
looks
like
like a,
individual
yes,
entities.
that looks like Hannibal out there, the blood hunter, and
Yeah,
he's crouching, getting ready to attack an
yeah.
unknowing victim.
I almost want to go and drive that road all night and see if I can have some type of experience like that. But
How far are
whenever,
you from Iowa?
not that far.
Hey man, just we'll get you in touch with Chad, and he'll
What
tell
town
you.
is that in? I wonder.
I don't. Maybe Chad is in the comment. I thought Chad was gonna be hanging out with us. I don't know. He
It's about
common.
6 hours away. I'm about 6 hours away, which isn't bad. But maybe I have to drive that highway to get there.
Yeah, and now
Oh, there he
David's
is.
yeah. Be ready. Um, yeah, he could chauffeur you. Chad could just drive you through there.
Yeah.
But David says that that highway that or that corridor through that area gets a lot of it gets a lot of attention. There's a lot of reports and things going on, but for Chad to have the wherewithal to hop out and um, to take pictures. So, and that's another part of Chad's case that's so interesting is that, a lot of other people, they won't take any pictures. Like, you're like, why didn't you take a picture of something? Why didn't you, we have smartphones now. Just hit the thing real quick and then start freaking out while you're filming, and do it simultaneously, But,
Yeah,
um,
what does he think they are? Like what and I know Chad, you're probably still on here. If you had to guess what type of alien that is, because we've heard recently, isn't it Burleson that said he's kind of confirmed like insectoids, greys, Nordics, and there was one other one that he confirmed. I can't remember, maybe in the mantis ones.
yeah.
But like what would you say? Because those could almost
That
pass
looks
as
like
mantis looking.
mantis. See,
Yeah.
thank you. You just said it at like the same time as me. Like that shit right there is like mantis looking. I don't
He
know. I
has
mean,
no clue. Yeah.
look
I
at that.
mean,
It's like they're looking. I mean, I just don't know. Like, and Chad is just as curious as anybody else. He's like, you can imagine living through it. You want to find out what this shit is. And I don't know. Maybe Chad's kind enough to share his story with us first. We bring it to the fans. Fans, y'all look at it. Maybe David with his MUFON work, he did have the photographs looked at professionally. They are 100% real photos. It's not Chad jerking her chain or anything. And I don't think Chad wants to jerk anyone's chain. He's just a normal
no.
guy.
And that'd be so random to come up with. Like if
So
you were gonna
random.
make something up, like to me to come up with something like those type of entities would be weird.
But this is an interesting one too here. This one, this square one, um, that this is a wild one because that to me, when it's zoomed in on, doesn't that look like some kind of like portal or something opening? Like there's all this brilliant light around it, like plasma looking stuff, and it's too like it's so crisp. I mean, it almost just looks like something opening up. And
Yeah. A
my
port
mind, my creative mind says a portal opened up. This happened right here, and when it happened, um, I'm having some issues here. When that happened, it released all of these things. So that's kind of where my creative mind goes. Some kind of portal opened up behind him, and it released these entities, and out they came. And Chad just happened to be in the area, And they were curious of Chad, and they wanted him to stop so they could talk to him. So, um, you know, there
apparently
you go.
MUFON thought it was a portal too.
Oh, okay. So
Why
there you
didn't you
go.
use the video, Chad? Was it just too hard when you were driving, or is there also video of these things moving around?
Yeah, he'll have to.
That'd be interesting.
He'll have to answer that because, like, I do know that Chad said that some of these he doesn't even remember taking. So, I
Yes,
think,
that was the weird thing. Like there was a bunch of these pictures showed up, and it's like either he blacked out or they put them onto his camera somehow.
yeah. And me and David are sitting there. Here's Chad on the video with us. And again, fans, if you haven't watched it, we recorded it 2 or 3 days ago. Please go watch it because you get all of Chad's actual words of what went down. But me and David are sitting there like theorizing of what could happen to Chad as Chad sits there. I just find that funny because I mean Chad don't know either. I mean he just knows that there was some time, um, and yeah, I mean yeah, Billy. I mean that's what we're all wondering is like what the hell? How do you fake these photos? You can't fake them. Why would you fake them? I mean it just doesn't make sense.
Well, you
And
could fake it, I'm sure, but like it's quite complicated to fake.
yeah,
And
and
like
I mean
where would you why would you come up with something like this? Like those look almost, as you said, those look like a human being almost in a way, but not. But it looks
Yeah.
like somebody, as you said, like a evil blood hunter type character, crouching down, ready to pounce. And they're all kind of crunched, aren't they?
Yeah.
Like walking in that.
Can
Man,
we
I
see
wish
them?
these things would
You should be able to
communicate
see
with
them,
us.
Lisa. Yeah, we're
I
sharing.
I would love these things to communicate with us. What was like he think? I know he was scared, but
Yeah, and
like
you know, when Chad tells a story, he's just saying that uh, at first Chad says he's pissed off, because these things are fucking with him. This is Chad's words. You can go watch it from 2 or 3 days ago. That's verbatim what Chad said. So these things are messing with him, right? So, I think it's just enough for him to pull over and hop out and take a picture and tell him to leave him alone, and like quit messing with me kind of thing. Here's some other orbs he took pictures of, as they're in motion, and uh, all these lights, blue, green. There's another one down here, a tiny one, a tiny red, tiny red. I mean, they're just all over the place. And again, we kind of bring it up during the video that something exactly like this got reported by Ross Coulthard recently, last week, actually. He said that someone was reporting to him from the New Jersey drone situation that they just thought they'd have some fun. And when they saw one of these anomalous drones come by their house, Ross said the guy told him that he started lasering it, putting a laser on it, and it lowered down into his backyard. And he said it freaked him out because he didn't know the thing would like actually interact with him and like come down to his home. And guess what he says shows up when he does that and he puts the light on it. He says a white rectangle appeared, and he said it was accompanied by, guess what? Different color orbs, red, blues, greens. I mean, I just urge fans. I mean, I have the video. We could watch it if we want to, if we want to watch it, Ross's take on it. But I think it's just really interesting that some of these synchronicities happen. And for those of you that read Diana Pasulka, these synchronicities, right, are things that happen together that are, these coincidental situations. And it just so happens this week, I listened to Ross tell that story as I'm getting ready to interview Chad. And as Ross is telling the story, it's like he's telling Chad's story because he's explaining something that Chad actually took pictures of. But one is a New Jersey drone situation, and Chad's is over here in Iowa. So, but it's the exact same thing that's explained. A white rectangular thing opens, and then all of a sudden these orbs, colorful orbs, start showing up. I don't know. It's just interesting. So, but yeah, I really urge people to go watch it. And again, if you want to take a break from all the political bullshit inside of UFO and hell, just politics in general, UFO or non-UFO. If you want to take a break from Epstein and all the other stuff that's going on, I think this is a good experiencer story because we can't go on flight radar and debunk it, right? These things are down at the ground. So there's not, I think Chad would know if a plane was landing behind him. But there's just nothing here that in my normal process of debunking, I don't know what to do with this one. This was, and MUFON Iowa doesn't know what to do either. They're kind of stumped as well. So very interesting.
yeah, I mean, I guess the thing that makes it seem to be alien more than anything else would be that cube.
Yeah.
That's what, because otherwise a lot of people would just think it's paranormal, other than it looks like an alienish type shape, the mantis like shape. But very interesting stuff.
Yeah, and I agree with you, William Runner. I mean, I'm the same way, man. I mean, I feel like I really pay attention to the skies because I would love to be. Now, Chad may laugh at me when I say this, but I'll say it tongue in cheek. I'd love to be an experiencer to some extent. I don't want Chad's experience where the orbs are slamming into his car. Okay, I don't want that.
Yeah, that's
But
one thing we didn't remind people of. It's actually they were knocking into his car,
they're-
and like it was actually becoming a danger of him driving.
yeah, that's why it was called Terror on the Highway. They were slamming into his car, and he gets out expecting to see damage on his car, and there's no damage on the car, and I think that's what's interesting about it is that it almost it matches all these stories we hear about how they're able to produce their own energy in these energy fields, and perhaps like Lazar talks about. Lazar says that when he was in his craft, looking at his one craft out of the 9 hangars at S4 that he got to work on, the propulsion system pushed you away. So think about that. The closer you got to the energy system of the craft that Bob Lazar was working on, it would push you away. So in theory, whatever energy these things create, it could come at you, hit you, move your car, but then you go out and look at it and there's nothing, there might be nothing there because it's not our typical metal on metal impact that we think of. He saw an orb or a boogosphere and that metal thing hit his car. That's not what we're talking about here. We're talking about more like energy sources rather than actual physical things. So that's what I think is going on. Now, I'm not saying it's aliens. I don't know. It could have been something anomalous that the government's working on out there and they didn't have control of it at that time. I don't know. I have no clue, and none of us do. So.
Have you heard about this fire at Area 51 this week, by the way? Speaking of government weird stuff.
Yeah, I actually think, let me see, I actually may have a picture that I could share.
I mean, that could be anything, because obviously that's a base, anything going on in the base to cause that fire, but it's just interesting to see. It looked like a massive fire, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's a big fire, man. I mean, and for people who have nerded out enough on Area 51 like I have, I know about every square mile of that place. I know, make fun of me, go ahead. But I get on Google Earth and I try to find paths in and out of there so that I can understand, like, for example, Bob Lazar says that S4, which a movie is getting ready to come out about S4. So I'm watching. Can't wait for them to drop it. I hope it's not going to take as long as the Age of Disclosure. But S4 is coming out, and again, S4 sits 8 to 10 miles south of Area 51 at the edge of the Papoose Dry lake bed, and there's not a lot of brush out there. There's a lot of Joshua trees and stuff. You've been out there, Hannibal, right? What could catch on? Well, you tell us. You're the one that's been right there at the gate. Is there enough woods or something like that to create a natural wildfire?
Not from anything I've seen, no. It's pretty much just what you're seeing there, dead land. There's no trees or anything that I saw. There's pastures and hills and stuff. But
so it's not like some wildfire could break out, like we would see in the thick wooded areas of California or something like that, where it's just like miles and miles of forest.
no.
And I don't know how you get a bunch of Joshua trees to catch on fire. When Joshua trees grow, they're very separate, right? I mean, they're like, there's a Joshua tree, and then 20 feet away, there's another Joshua tree, 20 feet away. Yeah, I mean, I'm curious. I've not heard anywhere else other than a fire broke out at Area 51. So,
by the way, if nobody's ever seen this one, this is pretty interesting. This is what happens when you get too close to Area 51.
I can't believe we had actual camera dudes looking right at us.
Look what happens here. These are two adventurers.
That was crazy.
Yeah, I would love to take a bike up there.
Have you seen this?
What if that's because of our video?
This is pretty interesting.
Okay, guys. Oh, your camera's off.
I don't know what they're thinking, but they're right up at the sign here.
Oh, okay, here we go. Okay, all right, guys, you ready? When we were here last time, that was about 4 months ago.
Okay.
Put your hands up. Put your fucking hands up. I'm not going to tell you again. Right. Turn around.
But did they go past the sign?
No, just right at.
You got anything on you? Nope.
I thought you went right up to the sign too.
Huh?
This might be a different section of it, though. This one seems. I mean, there's probably different routes that you can go.
All the way out here.
We're just adventure travelers. We're just adventure travelers.
Just adventure travelers?
Yeah.
I guess they didn't realize the guy had camera.
We're down a little alien. They said, come up to Stewart Well Road.
Yeah.
Everybody else.
Apparently, they refer to those guys as camo guys.
Camo dudes, yeah.
Camo dudes, yeah. I saw the camo dudes.
Yeah, I remember you showing that. You know,
Yeah,
they normally are perched out. They're definitely there watching you.
I knew you should. I know.
Listen, we're going to give you guys a chance, okay? Get on your bikes, get the fuck out of here. We'll call Lincoln County, and they'll write you each a $750 ticket.
Okay.
We're out of here. Thank you. Go ahead.
Sorry for the hassle, guys. We're just travelers. My bad.
But yeah, they're not even being very friendly about it for guys that didn't cross. They're throwing around the language, get the F out of there. They're definitely making a statement. They're not, it's not like your typical police, hey, could you please not cross the line if you don't mind? They got the guns pulled.
Well, and you know why they're doing that, right? I mean, it's not just because it's Area 51, it's what's over the crest of that hill. What's over the crest of that hill is an amazing view. And they don't want that. They don't want any kind of view of what's going on in there from at least public eyes. Now, there are some perches, I think, to the east. I think there are some perch to the east where I cannot remember the mountaintop, but people go and they photograph Groom Lake from the east. And they can get pretty good. I mean, they can definitely see lights rising up out of there and stuff like that. But again, they're too far away to be able to know if it's anything anomalous. I mean, a light rising out of there, you have to realize that it is a true fact of like the movie Zero Dark 30. It is a true story that the helicopters that they developed to go after bin Laden out in Abbottabad, Pakistan, those were developed in Groom Lake. You know, when they went out to go test fly those, they flew them out at Groom Lake. And, you know, I see Gene in the notes. Maybe Gene knows what variant. He was in the Air Force. Maybe he knows what variant those helicopters were. I think they were a variant of the Apache or something. Highly advanced helicopters. You know, those take off and you see them from miles away. I mean, it's probably going to look like a weird light. Everything probably looks like a weird light that far away. But anyways, you know, it's just one of those things where, you know, I think they are that way because they don't want you to get a perspective. They don't want you to come to the crest of that hill and get a good perspective down onto the base. That's probably why they're being so hardcore about it.
Gene, your buddy who you did an interview with about reverse engineering technology, saying he used to be a SOP, Air Force security specialist.
Yeah.
No customer service skills.
Yeah. Yeah, so they're just going to cuss you out and tell you to go back where you came from. But yeah, I saw that pop back up this week, that about Area 51. And then, you know who else was in the news? You talk about cool videos. Does the fans or anyone in the comments, do you remember Skinny Bob?
No, I don't, but I'll just remind people, guys, for watching this, if you just want to watch the UFO videos and not get confused or miss any, because I post like 10 wrestling videos a day on the main channel, subscribe to the Hannibal TV UFO channel. It's just UFO videos, and you won't miss any. But tell us about Skinny Bob.
It's this
video.
video.
Yeah, I did see that. I just didn't read the name.
So Skinny Bob was back in the news, man. And I don't know if fans believe this one or not. This is one of the ones that I think is actually really well done. You know, hey, even if it's a fake, fine. All right, it's a fake. But it's really well done. I mean, the money to put this one together back in the day, I mean, right there, the hands kind of look a little too, you know. But, and the jacket it's wearing, definitely could be covering up, like, you know, certain aesthetic details that I don't know what he's standing under right there. But anyways, there was a video that popped up this past week, and you know, there was some claims made that people actually saw, I don't know what this is a video of, but people actually saw the real Skinny Bob deal, and it wasn't fake, and so there was some claims made about that. So I just always wondered what some of the fans think about some of these videos when they see them. Are there any that you see that actually show potential entities that you believe in? And this is one, again, that I just think it's really well done. So I will try to find out who that was. I think it was a smaller channel, Hannibal, that came up with that. Maybe I have it in my X.
When was this released anyway? Because I remember seeing it, but like, what is the history of Skinny Bob? Are you aware of it?
I'm not. I was trying to look here and see if they give us any details. Yeah, I don't know. And the date is redacted on the video. So, I don't know. That's a good question. I don't know when it was filmed or the any provenance that, attached to the video. All I know is that it's 25 is at the end. That would normally be where the year is, but it could be in year, month, date format. So it could have happened on the 25th of whatever month, and then the year's over here. But it had to be a pretty
It was
long...
released in May 2011, apparently. That's when
May
someone put it
2011.
out by someone under the name of Ivan0135. So it was only released in recent years when there was technology around to put out something this convincing. But
Yeah, so that came back up this week as well, and I think it was through...
maybe it was just re-released in 2011 then, Gene, if he's saying it's from the 80s. If it is from the 80s, that's a little bit more impressive.
Yeah, and what I found on it is, and I will hush this before it talks. It was done by a channel called fans, if you have time and you want to do it, the channel is Undercover ET UK. And they do an interview of Edward Abbott's. And apparently Edward Abbott's goes into the disclosure of it. It goes into detail about how it was a cover-up and things like that. But he gets into his credentials in that interview. It looks like it's maybe, I don't know how long this one is, but anyways, it may be something interesting to look up.
I think he might be confused because it does say on Grok AI, Elon Musk's AI, that May 13th, 2011 is when this first came out.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah,
apparently
interesting.
They're saying it would cost £220,000 at that time to reproduce something like that, according to special effects experts.
Yeah, and who was the guy that you used to have on here? John?
Yeah, I don't trust him anymore. There's too many John Stewart.
Mm-hmm. Well,
at first he seems somewhat credible,
mm-hmm.
but
Dolan had him on, right? Dolan had him on to talk about that alien.
But guys, I'm telling the truth. I never lie. When you say that 5 or 6 times a podcast, I'm telling the truth here, guys. I mean, to me, that's just a sign. And I didn't notice it as much in the first one, but after I had him on 3-4 times and he's constantly saying this, it's like, why do you have to keep telling us? Like, you never tell me, hey, Hannibal, I'm telling the truth this time.
Yeah.
That's a little weird.
Yeah. Well, and so that shows you the measure of your character, Hannibal, because if you're getting the red flags, then I think you're passing the test. Because all due respect to John, I think we all get those red flags with him. He had some big run-ins with Patrick on Vetted. Patrick on Vetted went off on him because apparently he felt like John sent him some stuff that he didn't want to see, and then Richard Dolan had him on with a different alien video. It's the alien video where there's all these like medical people standing around the alien, and the alien appears to start choking or going into some cardiac arrest, and they all start running towards it. Yeah.
What's its name again? Yeah, I'll look that one up.
I don't know, but John was all over.
I didn't believe that one though. I watched it. I don't believe that.
They
one
don't
at
show
all.
you nothing. So
no, and the stuff that the alien talks about is not believable to me.
Yeah. Well, anyways, John tries to sell that one, and you had made a point a minute ago where you were talking about how expensive the Skinny Bob video would be to try to manufacture that video. And You know, that is an argument sometimes made by John about his alien video that he was deep diving into, which was and the only convincing thing that he thinks he got on that was one of the doctors that was rushing to the aid of the alien as it went into like some kind of medical situation. Was one of the doctors had a mask and all you could see was his nose ridge. And he claims he showed that video to a woman, an elderly woman, and she said, "That's my husband. I noticed the top of his nose right there." And I'm just like, that's about all. That's about the most convincing part that he thinks he got out of that. But I like the Skinny Bob one. Yeah, that's it. And see, everything's blacked out. All you can see is the
John's
aliens
video,
face.
yeah. Let's put the sound in
military aid.
I don't
The
know.
alien is seated behind a glass. Personnel at S4 are less than first rate. They tend to be selected.
Okay,
for
so
their
that's not
willingness
the
to keep
alien's
secrets
voice, that's the
rather than
description.
their medical competence.
That would be
By the way, it's
badass
not
if that was the
shining
alien's voice.
That light into the
Yeah.
eyes. It looks that way. But
I
in
mean, it
fact,
looks
it's
like they're
hemorrhaging
performing for the
around
camera
eye
here. It
sockets
doesn't look like
and
they're
the
actually
nasal
like,
cavity.
notice how they're on the side facing the camera and there's no
I'm
one
sorry.
blocking the alien?
It's very hard for me to watch this.
Have you ever seen medical professionals work in pitch black when there's got to be
No.
a damn light somewhere?
There's a good question. And is John, I've never seen the video, but is he claiming that's legitimate?
Oh, yeah. So John claims that's legitimate. You know, it's funny you say that John says several times to people, I'm not lying, you know, but then he also reminds people, I think he used to be a used car salesman. But anyways, when he talks about, he says,
And I know he's lied about some wrestling stuff because I may not be a be-all, end-all expert in alien stuff, but for wrestling I am.
There you go.
And I
Yeah.
have heard some of his wrestling stories, and some of them are true, some of them aren't. I do know that for a fact.
Yeah. But I mean, he says it's real. The only thing that came again was he said that he noticed one of the noses of one of the doctors where the mask is here and all you can see, and you can't even see their eyes. So really all you can see is just this part right here. And he claims that he found an elderly woman that said that her husband in life was a doctor on secret programs, but he never tell her anything about what he was working on. And John showed her the video and she goes, "Oh my God, that's my husband right there." And she pointed him out and she's like, "This makes so much sense now because he would never talk to us about, you know, what he was working on or what he did, and he never could share anything with us. And now you're showing me this top secret alien video and now it's all making sense." I mean, that's really all the most convincing part he had of it, but you know. But you had mentioned one thing too. Did you get to watch any of the Dr. Gary Nolan stuff? Because I know you mentioned to me
Yes.
that he was in the news.
Yes, I have been watching it, yeah. Because apparently he briefed 3 Canadian parties about the whole UAP situation. So there's been apparently a Canadian UAP report came out this week. It wasn't big news in Canada, but apparently Gary Nolan has, he did an interview with Jordan Peterson there, who you wouldn't expect to talk about UAPs on his channel because he's like in the philosophy / mental health world. But there was a lot of UAP stuff covered in this, including, I guess, wasn't Nolan talking about to the Canadian people that he worked with the U.S., coming up with ways to treat military personnel who have had negative physical
Yes.
effects and cancer type things happen to them due to contact that they've had with...
It's like Havana syndrome and
yes.
things like that. Yeah. And
Yeah.
apparently they had reached out to Dr. Nolan to look at some of that. I don't know. There may be some of it we can listen real quick. There may be some of it he talks about. This is very short, but if he's not saying nothing, I'll cut it off.
This has done to you too. This has got to kind of come out of left field, so to speak, in a severe way. And so I imagine it's put a bit of a bump into your life. I mean, maybe one that's mostly interesting, but still, you know, it's to call it strange is to barely scrape the surface. So what do you make of this?
That there's something non-human here, and it's been here for a long time, is my provisional conclusion. And, the question is not, and that people should ask is not, is there something here? You have to ask the question first, can there something be here?
Yeah, and he kind of goes through that. That's not really the interesting part. I do think the interesting part is him saying someone at the White House was pretty much telling him to shut up. So
Yeah,
that,
he got calls to stop talking about it.
and what
as,
you said,
Lisa says there. Yeah.
and what you said about Canada. So that's pretty cool. I didn't know that. I didn't know he had briefed Canadian Parliament. So
Apparently, for anyone that doesn't know, there's a party called the Separatists, the Bloc Québécois.
I didn't know that.
They didn't want to hear about this. They're like the bad guys of Canada. They want to separate from Canada. It's like they want the province to become its own country, but apparently they wanted nothing to do with the UAP briefing, but the other parties wanted to. So that's very strange.
Yeah. So, I mean, and he does bring that up. You're right. And I didn't know what he was talking about. So I'm glad you explained that, because I'm not, I don't know, maybe I need to, in one of my history classes next fall, I need to do something on Canadian history or something. But, he does mention that. He mentions European Parliament and that, there was some briefings done there as well. And, but yeah, there is this soundbite in here. And again, we're reading credit UFO Joe. So again, we bring him up a lot. Those fans on X, if you don't want to watch a whole video of something, sometimes Joe goes out and scrapes some of the transcript out and writes it out for you if you just want to have a quick glance. So thanks.
But it is on Jordan Peterson's YouTube channel.
Jordan Peterson's YouTube.
That whole thing. And clips of it everywhere, though, because that's fairly big news. That even though it's not in the Canadian news much, apparently it's being researched by the Canadian government, and they're scientifically very interested to know what's going on.
Yeah. And I mean, and another thing that snuck in right under this week that I think is just as big. I mean, this is a massive statement right here by Mike Herrera. Mike just keeps, and fans that need a reminder of who Mike is. Mike is the guy who came out with DC Long and came out with oh shit, name just left me. Eric Hecker at the most recent press club event that Greer did. I think it was just a few years ago, and maybe 2021, 2022. I'm wanting to say, I don't know, maybe 2 or 3 years ago. It's not the one from 2000 or 2001 that Dr. Greer did. It's the most recent press club event. But Mike is the one that, just real quick, he was out doing a tsunami response, humanitarian type aid situation. I think he was Marines. Don't quote me on that. But they got redirected to go help out with something. And he's the one that saw the big, massive UFO that was, and there were men in like army fatigue type stuff, but no insignia wearing on them, and they were loading a UFO. They were loading things onto the UFO. The UFO had dropped a base down under it, and they were loading things onto the UFO, and it was hovering, and then it took off in a flash. So that's Mike. And Mike he's done other stuff since then. I think he's done Jesse Michaels. I know he popped up briefly on Investigation Alien with George Knapp. But I thought this was shocking. I mean, man, they just keep landing blows on Congress. And again, this is one of those situations where none of us really care if Congress is Republican or Democrat. They are dropping the ball according to these whistleblowers. So what happened is, right here, Astral bringing this up. But he said, look, Askapol, which is Matt Laszlo, we had him on the channel here. I talked to Matt a couple months ago for the channel. We might have Matt on again to come give us another Washington, D.C. update, because he's in the halls of Congress asking these questions. And, he answered the question about Matt Laszlo did about what about the UAP hearings? And she goes, yeah, it's we asked multiple people and they're not willing to testify. And I mean, these whistleblowers turn around and smack that down right away. So that's what Mike did here. Mike's like, hold up a second. we do come out. We've given you all kinds of stuff. We've told you where the assets are. We've told you where the biologics are. You have all the information you need. And remember, the UAP caucus is, again, it's heavily Republican. So I only bring that up because Republicans have a lot of control right now. That's the only reason I'm bringing that up. I'm not hurting. I'm not going to make this political. I'm just saying that Republicans have a lot of power right now. We have a Republican president here in America. So, I mean, there's a lot of Republican power to throw around right now. And Republicans make up most of the UAP Congress or caucus. So you got these whistleblowers coming out, and who knows, Mike Carrera may be MAGA. I mean, he may be a strong conservative. Who knows? But he's not holding back any words, regardless of Republican, Democrat, Libertarian. He doesn't care. He's saying, look, we've given Congress and the Senate, we've given them all the information they need. They're the ones sitting on it. They're the ones sitting on their hands, not doing anything with it. So eventually, man, some of these people are going to have to answer some questions about that, because, you know, they get to hold hearings to talk to whistleblowers and people in charge. Eventually, at some point, when are we going to get to hold them accountable? Like, you know, on these types of things, like we're being told, you know, that you're sitting on evidence. Why don't you go look some of this stuff up? Why don't you call some of these people in? So I think that'll be where some of the questions go to, hopefully. And again, credit Ask a Poll. That's Matt Laszlo. I mean, you can send Matt your questions if you follow him on X or on the social media platforms. You can send these questions to Matt. Matt reads all of his stuff, and he will ask occasionally. He'll ask your question to a congressperson. So if you follow Matt, that might be a good person who could relay your question to Congress.
The one other thing about Gary Nolan that also came up in that interview that you're probably going to be interested in, because you're interested in the psionics, is he'd also talked about working with that Skywatcher team, summoning. He said, I don't think he's actually seen it happen, but he's heard lots of talk about supposedly the government somehow controlling some of these UAPs, and that's again where it's hard to believe that. But
so think about what you just said. Is that not damning? Because Dr. Nolan has been out there with them a lot. If you watch Skywatcher episode 1 and 2, I think he's showcased in at least one of them, maybe both of them. And when I say showcased, he's sitting out there in the desert with them. When one of the psionics goes into some type of anxiety or panic attack, he talks about it. He watched it firsthand, because apparently as they were trying to take control of a craft, psionically something happened and they had a bad reaction. But think how damning that is for someone who has been on the ground. And we've heard that this dog whistle is supposed to work 100% of the time, and they're supposed to almost 100% of the time be able to see something. But then you have Dr. Nolan. Now, I'm going on your word on that, Hannibal. I've not watched the whole video, but if he's saying that he's not seen it really happen yet, like he can prove a psionic asset is sitting there in the chair. They're locked onto a craft. They take control of the craft. They land the craft. Dr. Nolan's not seen that, according to what you've heard and listened to. And if that's the case, and I agree with you, because that would make all the news. If Dr. Nolan came out and said, hey, I just watched Skywatcher take control of a craft psionically and land it, that would be all over the news. Disclosure done. We're good. Because he's a Stanford research professor with all these credentials, and it would be all over the news. So it's not happened. So I don't know what to make of Skywatcher. They are a conundrum. I appreciate them going out in the field and trying to actually, instead of sit around and talk about UFOs, they're trying to go out there and make something happen. But I've watched 1 and 2, Skywatcher episode 1 and 2. I didn't see much. I got a little excited in the first one because they had some pretty good pictures of the Tic Tac. But the second one, where they go through the classifications of UAP, I wasn't impressed with any of those videos. That's just my personal opinion. But, if he said that, that's pretty damning to say that, and you are actually on ground. Because I don't know if fans know
Maybe
this
he
or
just
not.
doesn't want to go on the record about it
Maybe.
yet, but who knows?
Maybe, but I don't know if fans know this or not, but a lot of the skeptics that we get out on social media now, I can be a skeptic, but they're not going to do this with me because I don't have enough followers. I don't do the engagement farming. I don't go out and post 22 times a day so that, I can build up my thing. I honestly, I don't have a lot of time. Hannibal's able to do it with wrestling because, he's keeping up on the topic, right? But I'm not doing it on the UFO area because I don't have enough time. I have a full-time job. I don't have enough time to sit around and keep up that many posts on UAP. I would love to, trust me.
You have kids too.
I have kids. I don't have enough time to do 25 posts a day. But anyway, some of the people that do, they have tons of followers and on X and these platforms. And if they are critical openly about Skywatcher, I have seen where Skywatcher would reach out to them, and specifically Jake Barber, and invite them. And he's invited some of them to come out. I think one of them was Average Chris on X, and I think they invited him out to the range or wherever they call it, and then they rescinded their offer for some reason. I don't know, but I don't know. We're going in July. We're almost at August, so there's not a lot left of this year. And this year began with Jake Barber, right? That story was the story to start our year. And they've not really done much. Only a couple episodes. I don't know. I've been really shocked that we've not seen a lot out of them. So,
yeah, and he's not. I wouldn't say he's really the most famous one that's come out yet this year. Maybe that they've tried to push it the most, but I don't know. What would you say has been the biggest story so far of 2025?
I think the biggest story. Yeah, I actually think we mentioned it a couple weeks ago or last week when we came on. Oh yeah, it's this stuff on the Tic Tac, right? I think that is
That the
just
Tic Tac is Lockheed Martin.
yeah. I'm sorry. I just think that's massive. That's massive news because and the reason why that would be the biggest news is that was a lot of people's paradigm shift. Like that's where people had and the ontological shock that we all hear about. We've had people on our channel, well-known people in ufology now, that have come out and said that they got started on this topic and now they're pretty big names on the subject because of the Tic Tac situation. Because before Commander Fravor, we really just had a lot of eyewitness accounts from people that there wasn't a lot of corroborating evidence. There wasn't any video, photo, or they didn't have the service history in the military. You get everything in the Fravor story. We got photos, we got videos, we got corroborating witnesses and evidence. We have someone with an impeccable resume. So I think the Tic Tac thing is one of the biggest ones that came out. But again, there's still a lot of back and forth with that. A lot of people are still pushing back on that story, and and they're saying no. We think Ross is being manipulated by the same people that manipulate Greer, and we covered that the last time on our show, right? We covered how him and Greer seem to be having a lot of the same lingo they're using now. So I don't know. Maybe they're being manipulated by the same person.
I haven't heard much from Greer this week after he was in the news last week, so he's taking a break maybe.
Yeah, I haven't either. And, the only other one I know of is, the only other interesting story that happened was, and let's see, I don't know if I have, I do have an image of it. Let's see if I can get this up here. So this was an interesting photo that was shared. Let me show this for fans. Because this was something that we've talked about a lot on the show. Here we go. Yeah. Look who was hanging out together.
Your buddy. Burleson is like the new, is like the main congressman now. He's taking over from Tim Burchett as the guy that's with all the UFO people.
Yeah, he is. Yeah, it seems you're absolutely right. It seems like he has trying to take the mantle there. So I just want to throw this out here that this is interesting, and the reason why is just this past week, there was apparently a hearing. Now I don't have the whole transcript of what was asked, but apparently NASA, or the new leadership of NASA was in on this hearing, and Burleson was in there and asked him about UAP. My question is, when are they going to ask some questions that matter? Again, Bledsoe. So now we know that Burleson and Bledsoe have met. Bledsoe has pictures of being at NASA. He got invited in, and he was invited and taking pictures with the public enemy number one as far as enigmas go. Tim Taylor, whatever you want to call him. He was pictured with him at NASA, and Bledsoe says that NASA told him, "You are here, Chris, because all of our astronauts are seeing orbs." And why in the hell can't we ask that question when we have the freaking NASA leadership in a hearing? Why not ask that question, Representative Burleson? You're sitting here with the guy and you're pictured with him. You got your arm around him. Why can't you ask that question? Hey, NASA leadership, why did you okay, y'all say that no ET life exists from the case logs you have. So NASA has no proof of extraterrestrial life. You're not researching it. There's no there. And on you go. But we have pictures here. And what I would do if I was Burleson, sometimes you see these Congress hearings where they have a big poster board sitting behind them because they're trying to make a point. I would have a big picture of Tim Taylor and Bledsoe sitting around the table at NASA's headquarters talking about orbs and angelic orbs and seeing things, and point to that and go, don't tell me you don't know who this guy is, because Tim Taylor has apparently been in NASA for decades and he's a big to-do there. So I know you know who this one guy is. So if y'all have no evidence, if there's no evidence of extraterrestrial life, why the hell are you hosting Chris Bledsoe, from my great state of North Carolina? Why are you hosting him and telling him that all astronauts see orbs? Why? And why is that such a hard question to ask? And again, this feeds into the situation that we were just talking about with Mike Herrera, where Mike was saying, look, we tell Congress all that they need to know, but they don't do shit with it. This is more proof of that. All these things are laid in the lap of Congress, and then here they walk in, NASA leadership, here's your perfect time, and you don't. And you play this bullshit question, and you throw softball questions to them. Hey, NASA leadership, what do you think of silver discs in the sky? Oh, I think, it's a cool phenomena, but we don't have any proof of it. That's a bullshit question. Quit asking them about UAPs. They're not going to tell you anything. NASA's not going to say shit about UAPs. So quit asking them. Ask them a very direct question. Pull it up. Why are you hosting Chris Bledsoe? Well, I don't know who Chris Bledsoe is. Well, who's Tim Taylor? Because he brought him into the NASA headquarters. And don't tell me you don't know who Tim Taylor is, or I'll kick your ass out of here. Why don't they act like that? So this is why it never goes anywhere. And this is why people, as you can tell, I get frustrated with it. So... And I go on these long rants, and you'll have to cut me off.
Yeah, no, it's all right. No, I fully understand that. And it does seem like I get bored of it at times. I did find the interview with Nolan interesting this week and the Canadian stuff, but it seems like repetitive a lot of the time. It seems like we're just going in circles here, and there's not a lot of changes.
Yeah, and that's why I'll keep digging for the channel. Fans, keep subscribed with us. We'll try to bring you more experiencers. We may have to just transition back to experiencers, right? Because bring in more Chads, more people like that. Bring Gene back on. Gene's been connected into some things. Bring back in Jim from MUFON, Massachusetts. Jim's probably got some good stories to tell us. get back into experiencers, because, that's how Hannibal did a lot of his stuff, right? Hannibal used to have a lot of experiencers on to actually tell their stories. And I mean, that may be where the community has to turn back to. It's just turn back into interviewing experiencers and, like those type of people.
And I do have somebody coming up here, I think Tuesday, a book author on Roswell that's been, his interview is all going to be based upon declassified documents and stuff. So I'm looking forward to that.
I will be on there loading you up with questions for that one. So I am ready for that one. I can't wait. I'm going to be viewing on that one, and I'll have some good questions because, I do know personally, one of the Air Force declassification officers that worked at the Pentagon that had to do the review of the release in the 90s that happened. That was the one about the reconnaissance balloons and the dummies, the test dummies being dropped, and that was the bodies, and he was all part of that declassification effort. So that's my closest insider contact, and all I can tell fans, I'm not going to say his name, but he's fully verified. And if I told you how I fully verified him, you go, oh yeah, then that's definitely him. But and he tells that story about how it was Roswell changed in the 90s to a reconnaissance balloon story, and the bodies were test dummies, and all this other weird stuff. But he also told me, and I've told it here on this channel a couple times, he also told me some stuff in that he knew wasn't true. And if Gene is still on, Gene will know what I'm talking about. Why would you tell me that when I ask you about Roswell bodies, that a KC 46, he said KC 47, but I think he meant KC 46, which is a Pegasus, which is a refueling plane, a dual engine refueling plane. We fly them out of Eastern North Carolina all the time out here, but it's a tanker, it's a refueler used for midair refueling. And he said one went down in Roswell and the bodies got jacked up, and that's what happened. Well, the KC-46 didn't exist. There was not any refueling like that or any airplanes like that for refueling in the 40s. So they didn't even exist. So why would he tell me that? So after just telling me he declassified all this other stuff and he gave me all this information on it. So I think he kind of put that in there as a nugget to say, yeah, I mean, you have to take this with a grain of salt, this declassification of Roswell. But yeah, I'll definitely be tuned in for that one, Hannibal. I think that's really cool. Anybody that can tie back to some of those legacy stories, right?
What happened anyways to these declassification of both? Wasn't there going to be a UAP release and UFO release and Epstein release and the JFK? I guess the only one that's come out with some really is the JFK. I haven't
I think
seen
there
much.
was yeah, I think you're right. I think it was just a little bit with JFK and the drone stuff. Remember, Trump was supposed to release some stuff on drones, and
yeah.
Again, Ross is saying that was China, and maybe that's why they didn't want to, is they couldn't
But
tell
wasn't
us.
Paulina Luna like the head of some task force that was going to a declassification task force? And what if we haven't heard anything more of that for a long time?
Yeah, I mean, well, and that was just classic overplaying her hand. She made a big deal about that being put in as like a transparency czar, and there's been zero transparency. So, I mean, and again, that's maybe not as much a knock on Paulina Luna, other than maybe she found out the brick wall exists. She was bright-eyed and ready to go, and ready to jump at the opportunity to unleash some things and be transparent. And then she probably hit the brick wall and saw, like, that ain't going to happen. And it sure ain't going to happen with somebody who has a very, very low need to know, which is a United States Congress man or woman. They just have a very low need to know. And we learned that through Tim Phillips, the former deputy director of Aero, who said we couldn't tell them anything. I couldn't tell Anna Paulina Luna nothing. And they said, why? And they said, the congressional leaders were blocking their access. So they're even fighting. They're fighting within. Like Paulina Luna can't even get to the information she needs because her congressional leaders inside of Congress are blocking her on stuff. So they can't even get out of their own way. But yeah, I mean, I think the drone thing is probably the weirdest one of them all. I know they're going to keep JFK covered up. They'll keep Epstein covered up. I mean, because there's a lot of people that could go down. Everybody keeps focusing on Trump, but there's other people that could be going down in like the Epstein situation. There's a lot of big names in that, right? I've heard all these speculative names of Bill Gates and all these other people. So, I mean, there may be a lot of elites tied up in that. And the same thing with JFK. There may be a lot of embarrassing stuff about our country in that. So that doesn't shock me that they keep Epstein and JFK blocked. But the drone thing is the freakiest one because, you know, what an operational genius. If you want to go mess around with your adversary in your China, go fly your advanced tech right over your the residence of your adversaries, because you know they can't shoot it down. So if China flies an advanced drone, and we said this last week, right? If they fly it over Hannibal's house, they can't go blow it out of the sky. Because what if all these pieces come down and they hit Hannibal's house and they kill people in your home, and now the news is out there and Hannibal, what did you see? Oh, well, somebody just shot a missile and blew this thing out of the sky, and it was a F-18 or F-22 or whatever they scrambled. It'd be everywhere, and it would be hysteria. We're at war, right? What genius. If it was China and they wanted to show something off, what genius. Go fly that over people's homes. They're not going to shoot us down because they can't. They can't shoot us down. They can't make a big scene, and they don't want to let the American people know that China's flying drones over people's homes. So, you know, they're going to have to deal with us covertly somehow. They're going to have to flood the space. So Ross even puts that out there that perhaps maybe they started flying drones too, just to flood the space and confuse us. So,
and the last thing here, Gene's bringing up that Trump may want to disclose and took some program from the Pentagon and moved it to the White House. So you would know more about that than me, Gene.
Yeah, and I was just reading something before I came on about this. So, you know, it's been multiple things has come up, you know, about the White House. The White House seems to be getting moved closer to the fire, if you want to say that, or they're getting close to the situation. Both Dr. Nolan saying that the White House told him to shut up, or a White House rep told him to shut up. That's pretty convincing. We've heard Burleson, if I'm not mistaken, say that Grush briefed Trump, or someone. I don't know if he was saying he briefed Trump or someone close to Trump in the White House about entities, actual tall whites and things like that.
I wonder why it would have been Grush.
That's what Burleson says. So I'm pretty sure it was Burleson. Don't quote me on that. I'm pretty sure it was Burleson.
So an active Congress member said that.
It said that Grush had already briefed either Trump in the White House or briefed someone in Trump's White House about actual entities, about actual like beings. So they keep kind of moving it closer to the White House. I don't know if that's because they're getting intel that there's going to be potential disclosures that they can't keep at bay. But I guess we'll see. But I've not heard anything else new, but I did read something real brief right before we came on about something to do with Trump in the White House and UAPs and investigating something. I'm just not sure what it was.
Very good. Well, that was interesting, and I really suggest to people that they check out Casey's interview on the Hannibal TV UFO channel about that craziness, the terror on the Iowa highway. Check it out and subscribe to that channel because it's going to be just UFO content, and I've got a couple UFO interviews coming up next week, and we're gonna do this again. Keep everyone updated, and I'll let you wrap this up. Casey, thanks for watching, everybody.
Yeah, let's watch this week too with the interviews coming up. I'll definitely be on Hannibal asking some questions with you, so thank you for covering those. And then if y'all have any other suggestions, I know that a fan had posted something about they wanted us to go through the Bob Lazar story again. It was a newer fan. They posted on one of our videos like 3 or 4 weeks ago, and they said, I'm a newer fan. Can you guys go through the Lazar story? I'm hearing he's got a movie come out. Maybe we'll do that on an upcoming episode. We'll go through some of the Lazar claims and talk about S4 specifically, because that's supposed to be coming out as a new movie. So, stay tuned.